graduated from high school. My dad had to drop out in the 8th grade, and my mom had to drop out in the 11th grade to work in the fields picking crops to help their parents support their younger brothers and sisters. They were both the oldest in their family. My dad went on to be a railroad laborer, laying the railroad track and the ties, and so I grew up poor. And my parents always emphasized to us the importance of education. Now the difference was, to them, education meant getting out of high school. But in one generation, I was able to go from that to being a Harvard Law grad and being on the federal district court. So as David said, each of your kids has the potential. But what they have to understand is how to dream big and how to work hard. No one had ever told me I was smart. Never one had ever told me I could do anything. Fortunately for me, my dad decided that he had to get out of the railroad business because he was already in his mid-30s and he was not going to be able to lift those railroad ties for a whole lot longer, and he went to barber school and got his barber's license. We moved to Buena Vista because he opened up his own shop, and for the first time I was in public school. And we moved there in October of my 4th grade year, and I did love to read. That was one thing I always loved to do, and I was one of those little kids that even though I didn't know the words, I would take the books and I would go along and make up the stories along with the words. So that is important. But I remember we moved there in October, and I had missed the first month and a half of school. So when I finished my work, I would go back and I would do my phonics workbook and make up the word. Now, I was used to when a teacher came up and stood behind you, you might get that ruler slapped across your knuckles because you did something wrong. Well, my teacher, Mrs. Cole, came up behind me, and I was sitting here doing my work, and she came behind me, and I just froze because I thought I was going to get hit. I thought I was doing something wrong. And she looked at me for a little bit, and then she bent over and very quietly whispered in my ear, "Ma, aren't you ambitious?" And I didn't know what ambitious meant, but her tone of voice told me it was positive. So when the kids went out to recess, I went and looked up ambitious in the dictionary. And it means to have a drive to succeed. And I said, oh, well, yes, I do want to be ambitious. I want to succeed. I'm going to be a teacher just like Mrs. Cole. One teacher, one nice comment saying you can do it, and my whole life turned around. I did not want to drop out anymore. I wanted to go on and be a teacher. I was going to be a teacher, and in 7th grade, and this is how serendipitous it can be, how just luck can go on. You're going along in life this way, and all of a sudden this door opens up, and you've got to decide if you're going to go through it. I went to the library with a friend of mine, and it never occurred to me that I could be anything other than a teacher. Those were the only role models I had. So I was waiting for a friend. I picked up a magazine, and the magazine was about lawyers and law schools. And that was the first time the light bulb went on up here. And I said, I could be a lawyer. I love to argue with people. And I usually win. And it talked about Harvard. And it said Harvard was the best. And I said, that's what I want. I want the best. I had no idea where Harvard was. I had no idea what it would take to get there. I didn't even know it took 7 years to get to law school, 4 of college and 3 of law school. I just knew that's what I wanted. And so I was thinking to myself, well, I think to go to Harvard you have to be rich, and I'm not rich. You probably have to go to prep school. I'm not going to go to prep school. All I could think of is I had to be, if you want to get into the best school, what do you have to be? The best student. So I said, that's all I have to offer, is I will be the best student. So I ended up going on to law school at Harvard, and I was lucky. I worked hard, but oftentimes it takes a bit of luck too. And I was just fortunate that I was able to get into Harvard, go on to school. And the message there is your kids, don't ever think that their dreams are too big. There's no such thing. And I talk to kids all the time, and I say, dream big. But you can't just dream. You have to work hard, and you have to have tenacity. You cannot give up. There will be obstacles in your way. And one of the biggest obstacles you guys are going to find for you and for your kids is going to be other people who will look at you and say, oh yeah, who do you think you are? That's what happened to me my junior year in high school. I never shared with any of my friends that I was going to go to Harvard because I deep inside of me knew they would laugh at me, they wouldn't understand it. This little Chicana girl from this poor family to go to Harvard. But I was #1 in my class. I was president of the drama club. I was on student council. I was doing all the things that people that go to colleges do, not even knowing that's what I have to do. I did it because I love being involved, and my dad was real strict with me, and the only way I could get out of the house was to join these groups. So that was part of, I said, the silver lining in that cloud. But in my junior year of high school, my English teacher went around the room and asked everybody what they wanted to do when they graduated from high school. And I was sitting in the middle of the classroom, and they started on that end, and one said, well, I'm going to be a geologist, I'm going to the School of Mines. This one said, I'm going to be a cosmetologist, I'm going to the beauty school in Colorado Springs. And I'm listening to them, and I'm going, do I dare share my dream? Well, they were being so supportive of one another that when it came my time, I took a deep breath, and I jumped, and I said, I'm going to be a lawyer, and I'm going to Harvard Law School. And the room was deathly silent. And then, the only reaction was, ha ha ha, Chris Martinez thinks she can go to Harvard. And I was crushed. Because these were my friends. I'd grown up with them from 4th grade on. And I left the room. I don't remember. This was about 1:30 in the afternoon. I don't know how I got through the rest of the day because I have no recollection of it other than being in a daze. And I went in, I remember going into the bathroom because nobody was going to see me cry. And I waited until everybody left the school, or I thought everybody had left the school, and then I came out. And while I was sitting in that bathroom stall, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, who do I think I am? How can I go to Harvard? I'm just this poor little Hispanic girl. How can I even dream like that? And by the end of that day, I was already doubting myself. I walked out of that room, and my English teacher was waiting in the hallway. And she said to me, Chris, I know you can do it. And it took those 7 words, one teacher who said to me, you can do it. And I picked myself up, I dusted myself off, and I said, I'm coming back to my 10th reunion at this school, and they're going to eat that laughter. So the really important part of that story is it takes teachers who care to make sure that your children will have the message that they can succeed. These 2 teachers were phenomenal in my life, and if I hadn't had them, I wonder where I would be today. You as parents are extremely important to your child's development. 1, to be encouraging, to make them know that they can dream big and they can succeed, but 2, to make sure you're there to help them succeed, to read to them every night, and to make sure they're disciplined and that they do their homework. That they understand that they have to be responsible as well if they want to accomplish their dreams. So it's a community, it's a partnership that you will have, and I think that's what really attracted me to University Prep. I don't have kids in elementary school anymore. My oldest is in middle school at this point. My youngest is in middle school, my oldest is in law school. But my husband's an elementary school teacher, and I think it is so important that we make sure that we don't lose this next generation of kids. So you all can help, you can be a partnership, you have to buy into the longer days, the Saturday schools, the longer school years, because that's what it's going to take. And the thing I really loved about what David told me was that by the time you and your child get through the 5 years here at University Prep, you will have seen 12 different college campuses. You all will have the opportunity not only to visit the campuses with your child, but to learn how you fill out the financial aid forms, how you apply for scholarships, all of those things that no one ever bothered to teach any of us about. So, I'm not going to speak a whole lot longer. I'll open it up if you have any questions, but I am so excited about University Prep. Your child's future it's at stake. You have the ability now in Colorado to make the choice as to where your child goes. And I think you will be very pleased with the work that David and all of the others are doing to make sure that your child will go to college. And education is the key.